Welcome to the Pulse with Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano. Let's get you to the pulse on everything you need to know. And today's show is brought to you by the Pilsner House and Beer Garden. Go visit our friends at 1422 Grand Street. Have a beer, have a pretzel, have a watermelon salad, and have a very, very good time. And also today's show is brought to you by Pegasus Partners, located at 1414 Grand Street. So Grand Street seems to be the hopping place, but not as hopping as the gentleman to my right who's making a Pulse premiere, and that is Dominic Concepcion of More Life by DC. Dominic, thank you for coming on, brother.
Thank you for having me here, Peter. I really appreciate it.
Exactly. And you're, not only is this a Pulse premiere, it's a Pulse exclusive because we've never had a massage therapist on the show.
Awesome.
So, and as you could see, he's going to show off his craft on yours truly, finally. I mean, they have me eating the hottest wings in New Jersey. They have me doing all of these weird things. But now I get to have a little bit of relaxation.
Absolutely.
But talk to me about when you started your business.
So I graduated in 2019, August 2019. Right then and there, I just jumped right into it. I started at a franchise, and then I kind of just realized that, going on my own is going to be the right way to go. As far as like being able to do what I want for my clients, able to service them at the convenience of their home or their job location, whatever is convenient for my client. Like I felt like that was the way to go. And, I loved working for a franchise because I learned a lot about the business side of it. And that's kind of helped me create my business structure, But ever since then, I've been working with my clients. They've been very loyal to me. I've been very loyal to them. I love my clients. I love what I do.
That's fantastic. But, and Dominic, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, he actually goes to the clients.
Yeah.
I mean, you call these chain type of massage places, and, you have workers. You don't have the passion and the enthusiasm of a person who owns their own business and comes to you. Look, we're at a pier, and he brought his massage chair, for the love of God. I mean, which is just fantastic on so many levels.
Yeah.
So now you don't have a brick and mortar location, or do you?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm working on that. I'm probably going to be coming out with that in the next 6 to 12 months.
Interesting.
Yeah. Most likely in the Hudson County area. If not, then Bergen County. But, either way, I'm still going to be traveling all over New Jersey to make sure my clients are happy.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there are different techniques to any type of massage.
Yep.
I mean, normally you would ask the client what they prefer, and you take it from there. But is it a little more than that?
It definitely is, and that's my favorite part about the job. Is that I can every massage is different. No matter if it's like 99% to the T, you still got that 1% that is different because the client's always different. And no matter if you come to me and you say, hey, Dom, my shoulders, all this tension up here, it's the same thing for the next client, but maybe the next client has something going on up front that we need to release here so that this can kind of relax. So the technique is always different for the most part. People do enjoy their deep tissue, like, get in there really good.
I'm always sore the next day after that. Yeah, exactly.
And that's the truth, I tell my clients, so I'm like, listen, you're probably gonna be sore for the next 2 or 3 days, but on that third day, you're gonna feel like brand new, so. Yeah.
Well, he's actually going to be showing some of his techniques to us, to me rather. For the audience at home, though, you literally have a person who will come to you. I've never even heard of that, to be honest with you. So I think that's fantastic. And you service all of the Hudson County area and all of New Jersey.
All of New Jersey.
What else? I mean, all of our friends down in Cape May, exit 0 on the Parkway. You definitely want to call Mr. Concepcion Where can people find out more information?
You can definitely find me on Instagram at More Life by DC. It's on Facebook as well at More Life by DC. Give me a call, 718-710-1981. I'm available basically every day but the Lord's Day on Sunday. Other than that, I'm here. So you can find me, you can contact me, and I will definitely get to you.
That's fantastic. All right, this is the shortest interview ever because I want to get to the what the services are here.
Right.
So I'm going to sit in this chair when we're going to do a quick little 1 second white flash here. Dominic, I'm a guy. I told you I don't like the deep tissue.
Yeah.
But I do like a little bit of Swedish massage, which is fine.
Yeah.
You know, my lower back is usually,
Not a problem.
I'm a tall gump. What am I going to do? These things happen from playing sports all these years. But
Right.
you're the expert.
Yeah.
So in a jiffy, we're going to have Dominic perform his magic. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this.
Let's do this.
All right, folks, as promised, Dominic Concepcion of More Life by DC is still here, ready to work his magic, and I am super excited. So, Dominic, the floor is yours. I'm relaxing on my own show.
All right, take a deep breath here. You're just gonna focus on breathing. What we're doing here is we're just loosening up the rhomboids, the upper trap area. This is usually where most people carry a lot of their tension. Just something like this is gonna help you relax right away. It's always like that first touch when you come in, for the client to kind of get them to relax. That's why like mine is like, just put a little pressure, have the client breathe a little bit. And you're kind of already in that euphoric state of mind little by little, How's the pressure, okay?
Pressure is fantastic.
Awesome.
I was mentioning before about the deep tissue massages, and sometimes I get a Swedish massage, and it's still rough. I'm still sore the next day.
Yeah, I mean, it depends.
But I have to be honest with you. You certainly have the hands of for a massage therapist.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's funny because sometimes like deep tissue is, it's typically, people do perceive it as like, all right, it's gonna hurt, you know what I mean? But sometimes deep tissue doesn't have to hurt. Sometimes you can work the deeper tissues without having to, put an elbow in there or, having to really put like that pain on the client. I always tell clients, to get rid of some pain, you gotta go through some pain. But for the most part, now that I'm, a little seasoned, better seasoned, I know how to get through to the clients, like those first couple layers without having to put too much pressure and, have them feel like, oh man, this hurts. Like it's not enjoyable,
And I'm just gonna ask you, did you just use your elbows?
No.
Oh, okay. Or your forearms or something like
Nope.
that? Oh, wow.
Hands, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was gonna say, the gentle touch is just, it's making me feel so comfortable.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's part of the passion about it. You got to be passionate about this stuff. Oh, you okay?
Yeah,
there?
no, I'm just gonna make sure I don't go face first.
Yeah, you got to be passionate about this stuff. Like this is like a dance with you and the other person. You're gonna little tangle a little bit, but you don't want to be too rough.
And for those people, I've been knocking it, but for those people with the deep tissue massages out there that like it, obviously, it's whatever you prefer.
Right. Yeah, it's whatever you prefer. And typically when I get to the person's like, when I feel their back like at the top and see how much tension there is, I typically already know how much pressure I have to put. So that's one of the gifts I do thank God for that. Like I don't constantly have to ask the question like, hey, how's the pressure? You can kind of already tell if the client stops breathing. You let them know, hey, listen, how's the pressure? Or if you see them like their feet will jump a little bit, and so there's a lot of like signs that the client will give you before you have to ask the question like, hey, how's that pressure? And
I mean, we've only been doing this for a few minutes, and I could tell that already just by the pressure that you're providing.
Yeah.
My muscles are much more relaxed than they were when we started it. Correct?
Yeah, we've already opened this up a little bit here, which is you'll feel the difference once you get up.
We do have to go to commercial in a few seconds, unfortunately. But talk to me about what you're doing right now, because I do feel a knee. But it's so gentle.
Yes.
that, usually a knee to the back might hurt.
Right?
I'm like, that actually felt great.
That's so funny. No,
absolutely.
we're pretty much just loosening up the QLs, the quadratus lumboris muscles on both sides. And that's kind of going to give you that little bit of space between your sacrum and like, I'm getting real technical here, but
no, I mean, listen.
It's gonna give you that space between your sacrum and like, your lower back and stuff like that. So,
Well, Dominic Concepcion,
yes.
More Life by DC.
Yes.
Oh my God. Well,
Yeah.
you know what?
I'm gonna
Let's
kill
just
him
not
now.
go to commercial. Well, you know what? This segment's going to be, going on for a few more minutes, I think, because I don't want this to stop. Are you kidding me? Folks, in all honesty, that was absolutely fantastic.
Awesome.
I had to lift my head up. Dominic, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, man. Of
visit
course.
him or visit him on his Instagram
Yeah.
at More Life by DC,
Right.
and schedule your massage today. Thanks again, brother. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. We will be right back.
Welcome to Hudson River Care and Counseling. Hello, I'm Dr. Pam Pater-Ennis, the CEO and founder of Hudson River Care and Counseling with over 30 years of clinical social work experience in therapy. We are a progressive counseling and coaching practice with a diverse team that brings a holistic approach to clients. We offer support both in person and through digital platforms such as telehealth. Consider us a safe haven that you can trust with care for your mental health needs. Visit our website to set up a consultation today.
Peter Biancamano, your hostess with the mostest of the Pulse with Peter B. Folks, don't forget to go on our Facebook and our Instagram pages by searching The Pulse with Peter B, and like and follow us on each of those platforms. We're constantly updating those pages with previews of each week's segments and cool stories. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our email address at thepulsewithpeterb@gmail.com.
Welcome back to The Pulse. I'm your host with the most, better than that bum, Biancamano for sure. And I know there are viewers out there. Just keep on the email telling us that we should change the name of the show to the Einstein Hour. I'm so happy on this segment to be joined by Mark Villamar, principal of Pegasus Partners and the financial officer for the Legion Post here in Hoboken. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, it's always great when you have someone that's so involved in the community, both in the commercial side and in the volunteer sort of leadership side. So tell us what's going on. I know there's a lot of people out there in TV land and on the internets that want to know and have heard something about development related to Pegasus in the northwest corner of town, where I used to live for 6 years.
Sure. The northwest part of town has what is called the Western Edge Redevelopment Zone. My company has been designated a redeveloper for 3 city blocks. And over the course of a number of years, both through Mayor Dawn Zimmer and Mayor Ravi Bala's administrations, we've negotiated agreements to build a certain number of apartments, a certain amount of commercial units, parking, hotel, all the usual development that you would see in a 3-acre area, right across the street from Hoboken's newest and largest park. Beautiful project idea. We were very close to being able to get a shovel in the ground when Mayor and Senator Stack interfered by informing the city of Hoboken that our buildings were too high, that by virtue of the fact of our height, somebody in the lower portion of one of their buildings up on the Palisades might have their view of Manhattan partially blocked, and even it made a reference to dog walkers not being able to see the skyline because of some of our building parts.
Wow, I mean, that sounds, I don't mean to cut you off, but it just sounds unconscionable that people in every town get their view blocked by new development, and that's the way of the world.
There's no law that protects your view anywhere in the state of New Jersey, and this is strictly a matter of political power rather than practical, legal, or any other kind of considerations. And unfortunately, the project had a connection to the American Legion project, not accidentally. I intentionally managed to have some of the units that I'm required to build that are affordable moved to the American Legion project. So we have 18 units that are going to be part of the expansion of the American Legion. 17 of those units are going to be financed through my company. We're providing $2 million for that purpose. The payment of that $2 million is timed to the obtaining of construction permits and a schedule that goes there to the point of having a certificate of occupancy. All that's on hold now because the mayor of Hoboken has managed to convince the planning board to put a kibosh on our site plan application, the effect of which means that we're now in litigation with the city of Hoboken and the city of Union City, and the people that are getting hurt are besides me and my company, are the people in Hoboken who would otherwise benefit from all these new apartments. They would benefit from the retail, they benefit from the rateables that will take an area in need of redevelopment and finally build it after decades of delay and difficulty.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this was approved in this redevelopment plan by the city council.
It's been approved by the city council multiple times. It's been signed and agreed to by the mayor of Hoboken. And our agreements, which constitute legal contracts, contain a provision that should there be any obstacle to the enactment of our buildings, the city council and the mayor agreed to do whatever is necessary to remove those obstacles. Something they're not doing, something they refuse to do. And that's basis for our lawsuit.
Well, I mean, politics and hypocrisy. I think politics might be, or politicians might be, an ancient Greek word for hypocrite. But I mean, it sounds from what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Mayor of Union City Stack, who's also a state senator, and Mayor Bala are essentially saying, are essentially stopping the Legion's post. From building more affordable housing for otherwise, homeless veterans. And
that's correct.
That seems to be, to me, that seems unconscionable to tell veterans, that you can't have this extra housing for our former service members.
And it's also a matter of somewhat of social justice because there's a disproportionate number of Black and Latino veterans that are homeless. And that makes the unconscionableness even more extreme.
Now, from what I understand, because I did do a little bit of reading on this beforehand, there was certain community givebacks, a 5,000 square foot parklet type space, $3 million for a community pool, and all of that is now in the wind because Mayor Bala is just willing to do whatever Mayor Stack tells him to do. To me, it's kind of really funny since Mayor Bala is now proposing this municipal complex that has a pool that the taxpayer has to pay for when Pegasus was willing to give $3 million for a municipal pool that wouldn't come from the taxpayer.
It's actually $9 million,
$9 million
for the 3 blocks. That's correct.
Oh, my God.
And it is more than a pity and a shame. It's something that is indefensible, and I think when we get our day in court finally, it'll be apparent that somebody in a black robe is going to rule in our favor.
Now, also, everyone out there in TV land should know that the same Mayor Stack, who thinks that their building is too high, has no problem with developers in his place, and I don't have a problem with it either, but building along the Palisade. Along the actual Palisade in Union City, they're actually building a building that will block the view of other residents of Union City, and that's okay. But if we want to build a building in Hoboken, it apparently, gets one's boxer shorts in a bunch, let's say.
It does indeed.
So, absolutely ridiculous situation. Anything else you want to tell the viewers out there about?
I also want to mention that we've already agreed to accommodate Senator Stack and the mayor of Hoboken, but we can't seem to get past the fact that they won't communicate with us on any reasonable basis. We're comfortable negotiating this. I don't want to spend the next X number of years litigating the cities of Hoboken and Union City. I want to build these buildings. I want to create this neighborhood. I've been working in this area for over 10 years. We did the beer garden building. We did the building that has the Camp Bow Wow facility in it. We did the building on 11th and Grand. This is supposed to be our master plan for the northwest part of Hoboken, and it's a shame that we're being stopped.
Well, I mean, everybody out there and that's even mildly aware knows that politicians, unfortunately, have no problem spending the people's money on lawsuits that are completely unnecessary. And it's just funny, when I was doing the research, I saw all these quotes by Bala and Bala's political retainers, not all of them, but some of them, extolling this project as a partnership, between, the city and the needs of social justice and private development. And now it's like, it's the end of the world because Mayor Stack said so. So we know who they really serve.
Correct.
So anyway, thank you, Mark, so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
It's been a pleasure having you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Peter Biancamano back with you. Don't forget to watch us on cable access every Sunday and Monday at 9 a.m. Optimum Channel 18, Files Channel 46, and Comcast Channel 190. Also on Sunday mornings at 9:30 a.m., you can watch our show on our YouTube channel, and you can also binge watch all of our old shows. Who doesn't want to keep watching The Pulse with Peter B? We'll see you there. Welcome back to The Pulse with Peter B. Peter Biancamano back in the host chair, and that's why it looks so good, because Josh is out of here. Like, who cares about him, right? But it was special having Mark Villamar on the last segment. Always a pleasure. And another special guest that absolutely needs no introduction is Mr. Ron Simoncini.
Peter B.
How's
Good to
it
be
going?
back. How are you?
Absolutely. Spokesperson of the Hudson County Property Rights Coalition. It's great to have you back.
Well, it's good to be here. And the last time that we were on, there were Hudson County property rights issues that nobody could believe. And now they've gotten even worse.
Exactly.
So it's good to
Exactly.
be back to kind of try to unpack a little bit of that.
All right, absolutely. And we're going to head up the hill. Of course, we're located at Maxwell Place Pier here in Hoboken, but just up the hill is Union City. And in Union City, there has been a challenge for property owners, let's just say, to say it mildly, as they say. Correct, Ron? Let's start out first with this note that the Stack administration sent out regarding people asking people for their incomes. I was wondering if you could explain
Right.
to the
So,
audience what this note is.
You and I have been talking about the difficulties for property owners with rent control and other issues in Union City, which have been going on for years and years. And recently with, I think, a number of improvements and responses from the city that show people are paying a little bit of attention. What was interesting this week is the city, for the first time in years and years, sent out an assessment letter asking for rent collection data from multifamily owners. And anytime anything happens in Union City, you have to get your antenna up and try to figure out what they're doing, because it's not going to be apparent. And one of the things about this assessment letter that struck me was that Mayor Stack, who, by the way, is a brilliant guy.
Yes.
His ideology is completely foreign to me, and anybody who's read the Constitution of the United States would say this person doesn't agree with the property rights provisions in that document. That's an ideology. However, his administration is beyond reproach. He knows how to run his town. And so when he goes and looks and says, I want to know how much money these apartment owners are collecting, there's a reason for that. And it's because he knows that as a result of the pandemic, eviction moratoriums, rent freezes, those people collected a lot less money the last couple of years, and they are going to appeal their property taxes.
As well they should, right, Ron?
Absolutely.
And let's go back to this letter that was sent out. Isn't this letter supposed to be sent out to property owners every year?
Well, sure. I mean, theoretically, yes. Theoretically, a municipality is supposed to do a property tax revaluation every 10 years. It's been 40 years since Union City did one. So if you look at that situation in isolation, the equalization rate, which is the difference between what people are paying taxes on and what the actual market value is, in Union City, it's 32%.
Wow.
So there's been a huge fissure in the difference between valuation for multifamily properties and single-family properties over that term. And this is all related. So when you send out a letter you haven't sent out for 5 years asking for rates, you're really trying to figure out what you're facing in terms of how your property tax collection is going to come in. In Mayor Stack's world, he doesn't want his single-family homeowners paying higher property taxes. He wants the multifamily owners, who often don't live in Union City, paying higher property taxes.
He knows where his voting base is, I guess.
So when you are faced with the idea that if in fact all these multifamily owners need to pay less tax because they've collected less revenue, somebody has to make up the difference in the budget. And that's going to be the single-family homeowner.
Let's discuss a little the either the chairman or the president of the Rent Labeling Board, what he said under oath about, I believe it was devariances or...
Oh, right. So,
yes.
So Juan Milan, who's another very intelligent guy, has been the chairman of the Rent Leveling Board in Hoboken for decades at this point.
Union City, not Hoboken.
Union
Chris,
City, I'm
yes.
sorry.
Yes.
Forgive me. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference
Exactly.
in Union City. So he determined that in a case back in December that he would say for the first time that there was vacancy decontrol in Union City from 1995 to 2013. For those 18 years, property owners were allowed, upon a vacancy, to rent to the next apartment resident at the market rate. Cases that came before the Rent Leveling Board since 2013 ignored that, actually ignored it. And so if you were a tenant and you came before the Rent Leveling Board and said, I think I'm paying too much rent, the rent leveling office would come back and do a calculation, and it would ignore that there was a vacancy decontrol available to the owner. And it would say, well, when that other tenant moved in, the rent only should have gone up 4% and it went up 14%. And so we're going to disallow that increase. Well, of course, that ignored history. As a result of the lawsuits that are going on in Union City right now, which there are at least 6 lawsuits that are seeking to, in some way, enforce the Union City rent control ordinance in a different way than it has been. Some of them are actually seeking to call it unconstitutional. As a result of those lawsuits, all this testimony is coming in. And the testimony left the chairman, in my mind, with no other alternative except to say, well, yeah, there was vacancy
I made a
decontrol.
mistake. Yeah, exactly.
No, he didn't make a mistake.
Okay.
It just wasn't part of any determinations that were made as a result of how the office itself calculated those rents. Then the Rent Leveling Board would have no choice except to fine for the tenant, and the landlord would see his property rents rolled back. In some cases, there was one case where the property rent was rolled back from $2,200 a month to $573.
Wow.
So that owner had to go back.
Wow. I mean, right. How do you pay your taxes?
Yeah. The taxes are going up far faster than they're allowing the rents to go up. And again, this is an ideological issue. Mayor Stack, to his credit, believes that he should be protecting residents to the point where he essentially is denying the property owner the value of their property.
Oh my goodness.
That's an ideological issue, but on a practical level, you got to follow the rules.
Right.
And I think in Union City, finally, as a result of all these lawsuits, the rent leveling office is being held to a higher standard, and they are, in fact, recognizing some property rights that they didn't recognize before. It's a long way from fair.
So it seems totally unfair, and there's a third element to this, and that is keeping open construction permits in Union City, which is unfair to the property owner as well. Why?
So here's another issue. If you're in Union City and you're a property owner, and you do some work to your property, or the city asks you to make a repair, you have to have a construction permit to do so. Well, if the city doesn't close out that permit, it can deny you other rights, including rental increases. And so we have clients who say, we have open construction permits from 2007. 15 years after the work was completed, they've done the renovation again, taken another construction permit, redone the bathroom again, and still both permits are now open.
And the increases can't go up, so these people who are living in this apartment for rent that they should be paying probably double or triple the amount of money are just enjoying this new kitchen and bathroom.
Right. And by the way, no one's looking to overcharge these folks. If you look back at how the owners calculate the rents when they bring these cases, in most cases, the owners have tried to follow the rules. And either their rules have been upended, exploited, manipulated so that they were found in violation of the rules. In many cases they weren't, which is why you have so many appeals. Or there was a mistake, what have you. The fact of the matter is the regime there does not operate consistently with their own rules. And these denials of closing out construction permits, it's a manipulation and it's an exploitation, and it's got to stop. And that's why people get mad enough to sue over things that cost them $40,000 to file a lawsuit where they can only get a $2,000 benefit.
Right.
Because
it's about the principle, though, right?
It's the principle, and the fact is that unless they find a way to undo the harms that have been done in Union City market-wide, everyone will lose their property eventually.
Wow.
You can't sustain the marketplace like this. Just property taxes will wipe you out.
That's incredible. And Ron, really quickly, we only have a few seconds here left. Does anything?
How does 9 minutes go by so fast, Peter?
Yeah.
You know what?
With good company, it always goes by fast, Ron.
does state law supersede any type of local ordinances when it comes to property rights?
You have to get to Superior Court in order to see those.
Gotcha.
So oftentimes the property rights in municipalities, which are home rule municipalities, Union City has home rule rights. And so most of this stuff can happen locally. When you start to deny people their constitutional rights, that's when they start to sue. And again, look, I look at Mayor Stack and say, he was the single person in the state of New Jersey who recognized that extreme eviction moratorium rights would undermine property values and undermine fiscal issues in municipalities. Because if a municipality doesn't collect property taxes, it stops running.
Unbelievable.
Stack was the only person in the entire state who said, we need to make sure to take care of that in these laws. And he did it, he authored it. So it's not as though he's not conscious of what's happening. It's that, and it's not as though that he's completely insensitive. It's that there's a war going on.
There's a war going on. Unbelievable. And at the end of the day, it's going to cost these property owners even more money in tax money, because what happens with lawsuits? The city has to defend themselves and pay legal fees.
And we know that that's happening in Union City, and we know that it's something that's a burden. And certainly we've reached out and said, a conversation can end all this.
Right.
But between the lawyers representing the city and some of the other people who are around this, who are imposing sort of a public affairs dialogue here that doesn't need to be there, we haven't quite gotten to a conversation yet.
Unbelievable. Well, Ron Simoncini, spokesperson of the Hudson County Property Rights Coalition. It's great to see you again.
Thank you, Peter.
You're invited anytime,
I'll
because
be
these
back.
segments go quick, let me tell you. I absolutely love it. Thanks again, Ron.
Thank
really
you, buddy.
appreciate
Good
it.
seeing you.
Love the handshake always at the end of the segment. All right, folks, join us next week for The Pulse on everything you need to know. I'm Peter Biancamano from the beautiful Maxwell Place Pier, saying so long, everybody.